friends, Amanda here. Welcome back to Handmade No Hallmark. We are on card 2 of my Christmas in July series, and today I wanted to do some ink blending with some simple die cutting to create these really dramatic cards, and I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp my background. So I've got my Misti stamp positioner out here, and I'm going to be taking the hand-lettered holiday background stamp from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm going to stamp the backgrounds for my cards. So you could, this technique or this style of card, you could use any background stamp on. If you want to use one that has images, you could use a different font, anything like that. I think that's why this is one of my go-to card designs, is because it's super simple, easily switched up for any occasion, birthdays, anything like that. It's a really versatile kind of style. I've got a piece of soft navy cardstock, also from Simon, and I'm going to stamp on that. I'm going to be using my MFT dye inks today, and I'm starting with Beyond Blue. This is a really nice, deep, rich blue color, and I'm kind of going for a tone-on-tone effect, and then I'm also going to be adding some ink blending a little bit later. And I was just making sure I had this lined up correctly. I didn't think it was quite positioned right. Going to stamp that down, and these inks are super juicy and you really don't need a whole lot. You just barely kiss the ink pad to the stamp and you get beautiful coverage. Going to go ahead and get my stamp cleaned off here, and I'm going to go in with a different color of blue. I don't know what it is about blues and greens recently. I think I mentioned this in another video, but I'm just drawn towards them. I don't know. I just feel like they look really nice. I'm not super into like other colors like pinks and purples. I'm not sure why, but I've noticed for this series that I do a lot of greens and blues for Christmas. I'm not sure why. I'm just drawn towards them. Next, I'm going in with another color. This is Tropical Teal, and they almost look like the same color, but they do dry back a bit, and this one looks really nice on top of this. I think this is Peacock cardstock. I'll make sure I have everything listed in the description. I just went through my stash and found some blue colors that I really enjoyed, and I think I've worked with this blue color before. I think in my Christmas series last year I did a whole bunch of cards with snowflakes. I did like a whole set, like mass production, and I'm pretty sure I used this color and I loved it. So I'll link to that video up in the iCard for you if you're interested. Now that I have all of that stamping done, I'm going to get everything kind of cleaned up here, and I'm going to start my ink blending. And I am going to ink blend with my MFT inks. This is kind of my first run with ink blending with them, and I was pleasantly surprised. I really felt like they ink blended well. Again, they're really juicy. I do have separate ink blending brushes for these. I got a small set of ink blending brushes from Waffle Flower. These are the really small ones. I might later on down the road get some larger ones because it is a little difficult to do this amount of ink blending with such a small brush. But I was pleasantly surprised. They do ink blend really, really nicely. And I'm just going around the edges and kind of fading into the center just to kind of make the center look a little bit lighter. And this blue one's a little bit hard to see, but once you kind of really get going with it, it really does start to, show that depth and dimension. I did speed the process up a little bit here because it was a little time consuming, but I wish I could ink blend this fast. But you can see that there is a bit of a difference in the ink blending. And it was at this point I realized whenever I was spritzing it that they're water reactive, which is really fun. So that's another project I'm going to try with them, is maybe some watercoloring or ink spushing or something like that. Now this lighter color card, this teal colored card, was probably my favorite out of the two. I just loved the blue colors and the way they came together. This teal colored cardstock and the tropical teal color. It really felt like they went beautifully together. It made for a really dramatic card. And again, you could easily switch this out for different seasons and occasions, and it would be a really fun set of cards to create. Gonna get my area all cleaned up here. Excuse me. And because it's a Christmas card, you can't go without some splatter or some snowflakes, as I like to say. Just a few here and there just to add a little bit of interest. I'm using my Winsor Newton white gouache. Again, just a tiny bit here and there just to add a little bit of interest in the background. Love the way that it turned out. One of my favorite things to do on Christmas cards because it adds little snowflakes. Gonna set those off to the side to dry. While we work, excuse me, I apologize for my voice and if I sound a little nasally. It's allergy season. There's nothing I can do to get away from it, so I do apologize for that. Next, I'm going to work on my greetings. I have the Joyful die from Simon. Again, I can't remember off the top of my head the exact name of it, but I'll make sure it's in the description below. And I'm doing another one of my favorite techniques is gluing some vellum together to help hide adhesive. I probably should have done 3 layers instead of just 2, but I wasn't kind of, thinking of that, but I just take a glue stick. This is the Simon Says glue stick, and I'm just gluing them together. Now, you easily could use double-sided adhesive or a Xyron sticker maker to do this technique as well. It just helps hide the adhesive and give a little bit more opacity to the card or to the vellum. So if you want to lay it on top of something but you don't want to lose it completely, you still can do that. And I cut the Joyful die out of some gold cardstock, and I'm just adhering it down with my Barely Arts adhesive. Now again, this die would be so much easier to adhere if you run it through a Xyron maker. I don't have one. I thought I had one years ago, but I don't know what happened to it. So I might have to pick one up again because I really do love this die, and I have a couple of other dies that are like this. So I think using those sorts of things are a little bit easier and more friendly to vellum because you don't see any adhesive. I do get a little bit of adhesive where I don't want it, but I wasn't super concerned about that. I just kind of went with it. And I'm using the main portion of the die to help line up the little frame that goes around it. Again, this is a little bit more of a fiddly die, and you have to kind of play with it a bit, but in the end, it is really nice. And that one adhered a little bit crooked, but again, I wasn't bothered by it. I'm just going to go ahead and move on from that. Next, I'm going to adhere the actual letters. There's a couple different ways you could do this. You could pop them out, lay the square on top. You could do it this way, where you add glue to the back. Again, several different ways that you can adhere this die. I'm going to do it both ways. I'm going to add glue to the back and then kind of press them out of the cardstock or the gold cardstock to adhere it. It worked out pretty good. Just kind of have to, again, fiddle with it to get it all to lay nice and flat, but it worked out pretty good. Just had a little bit of glue go where I didn't want it, and I just kind of scraped it away. And it worked out just fine. Now the second one, I'm going to pop out the letters. Again, just showing you different ways that you can adhere these little die cuts. Going to get those popped out. And even though I got a new die cutting machine and everything, this die still gives me trouble when I want to cut it out. I have, like the metal shim and everything, so I don't know if I just maybe got a funky die or, because not everything's going to come out of, production or processing perfect. So I don't know if maybe I just got a funny die or something, but I made it work. And if you have any issues like that, you can easily just take like a craft knife or something just to kind of help free some spaces that may not cut out properly. So again, this is just another way that you can adhere these. I find that the other way works a little bit better for me because I'm not really much for little fiddly dies, which is funny because I do a lot of die cutting for my series this year with fiddly dies. I was trying to break out of my comfort zone a little bit and, do something out of the norm for me. And in the end, I'm glad that I do because I love the end results. So now that I have all of my pieces for my cards ready to go, I'm going to get a top folding A2 sized card base ready using some 110-pound Neenah cardstock. Top folding card bases are just my preferred way. You can easily make this into a side folding card. Again, I apologize for my nose and all of the sniffling. I am not a fan of allergy season. And I did pre-cut these beforehand to be just a tiny bit smaller than the card base. So I had a nice white matte frame around them. I'm just going to glue those nice and flat. And I love these cards because they are a nice one-layer card. And again, you could make a whole set of these, which would be beautiful in different colors, just like those snowflake cards I created last year. Beautiful set of cards. I'm just going to adhere the joyful die into the center. And again, if I was thinking, I probably would have done one more layer of vellum just to kind of help hide the adhesive a little bit better, or run it through a Xyron sticker maker because that helps hide the adhesive too. Just using my T-square ruler to help me get it nice and lined up, nice and straight. And I kind of didn't want it in the center, so I kind of put it a little bit more to the top. Get this one adhered down, and you only need just a small amount of glue with this Barely Art adhesive because it does hold on pretty quickly and pretty tight, so just a small amount works out just fine. Get that one adhered down. And they're looking pretty good, but I wanted to add a little bit of sparkle, so I brought out my favorite sequin set. And I'm going to add some gold sequins to match the gold on the die cut. Just a few here and there. And that will finish up these two cards for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider hitting the like button as well as the subscribe. It lets YouTube know that you're really enjoying the content. And I really hope you enjoyed these two quick, simple, one-layer cards featuring some fun ink blending and some die cutting. I hope you're enjoying the series, and I can't wait to share with you the next couple of cards, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you again soon. Bye! On screen, I've got a few videos that I think you'll enjoy. Consider hitting the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more videos at my YouTube channel.